In this video, I'm breaking down over 30 different skill jumps across 3 maps, Live Fire, Streets, and Aquarius, in that order and organized in the play bar below. None of the jumps in my previous videos will be covered in this one, though I do plan to revisit those jumps at some point in the future. Instead, this is all new content, and with that new content comes this new system that I'm calling the Skill Jump ID. It's a simple 3-star ranking system that measures 2 things, impact and difficulty. For example, 3 stars for impact means I think this jump is very useful, and 3 stars for difficulty means I think this jump is very difficult. If you see a jump that is 3 stars impact and 1 star difficult, then I consider this jump to be a must learn. And it's something I think everyone should know how to do after watching this video. On the flip side, if you see a jump that is 1 star impact and 3 stars difficult, then this is what I call a style jump. If you're looking for an extra challenge or you just want to make a sick outplay, well then good luck. Have at it. The point is, whether you're brand new to Halo Infinite or literally Formal himself, I'm confident that every kind of Halo player can gain some value watching this video. And if you do get some value from it, then please like the video, hit the sub button. Just a reminder, we are 1,000 subs away from 50K. I appreciate all you guys and the support so far. If you haven't subbed, please consider doing so that we can jump to that milestone. See what I did there? This jump is definitely more stylish than it is practical, but if you do hit it, it's a fast rotation to a cheeky spot that somebody might not immediately expect you to be in. Now, it's very difficult to do. You really got to pinpoint the curb slide. You sprint off the ledge, slide, jump, and if you miss it, you fly out in the open. So not practical. If you do hit this and make a play with it, by the way, though, let me know on Twitter because I'd be curious to see it. But what is useful is instead, if you jump from the inside, you can actually land right on top of this ledge, which I didn't explain in my last video. So this is more of a classic Halo style jump where you walk off and late jump and then turn in to the ledge as early as possible to land on it from either side. And it does work from both sides. I'm just flubbing it. There you go. That could be useful. Depending on the situation, nice way to get to high ground. Well, that other door frame might be kind of finicky to stand on. This one is much more reliable. This has, of course, been covered in many other videos, but I haven't touched on it, so I figured I would. You can stand on both sides of this door. To get on the right side, I hold crouch and jump from crouch position for a lower altitude jump, so I can precisely land on the edge. If you try to land on anything that's not the edge, like the center, you're going to automatically slide right off. So it can take some time to pinpoint the edge and stand on it. For this side, I just jump off the panel with a standard jump very carefully. And the moment I hit that ledge, I release the left stick. So I'm not moving and I don't slide off anymore. By the way, if you're cracked, you can hit this backwards mid gunfight. Just jump backwards and land on it. And like imagine, you wouldn't have to stand on it. If you could just land on the edge of it, like that's enough to throw somebody's aim off completely. What I try to do is just peg the left stick backwards with a standard jump and just full press, full send backwards and just hope to hit it, and it tends to work somehow. Also, just like the other panel I showed, you can slide off this as well. With enough precision, you got to shimmy to the edge and sprint slide with good timing. It's very tough to do, but if you do it right, you're throwing yourself out at a very high speed, and you're giving up reticle placement to do it, but it would be a crazy challenge somebody might not expect. It's better to do this way, to throw yourself this way, and if you hit it right, you're going to land on the staircase. So it's actually kind of like a rotation, basically. Speaking of these big like panels or generators, this one in A has a ridiculous slide jump off of it, where if you hit it correctly, you will connect yourself with the scoreboard. You can even skip a clamber as well doing this if you do it perfectly. It's very difficult to do. And it's all style, by the way. I can't really think of a good opportunity to ever rely on this unless you are a robot and you can hit it every time because it's very difficult. The way I do this is I jump on the corner of the panel, back against the wall, and I look out and down like this, and then sprint, slide, jump, and hope that I get the timing and the angle perfect. So much can go wrong with this jump. You can miss the slide. You can just get the clamber like I did. You can miss the scoreboard entirely but still get the launch. You could slide into this little lip on the floor and go nowhere. Honestly, this jump is brutal. I wouldn't even attempt it until you can confidently do it the other way. Sprint slide off the panel this way. This is honestly pretty useful in its own right. Just sliding out this way to attack the stronghold or for a quick rotation, maybe to surprise somebody. As you're coming up, you can kind of set it up and wrap through. So I would work on that first. And while you're working on this jump, there's another one that you can work on right here. to get up as well. One jump that I think has slipped under the radar is this one right here. It's not even that difficult to do. It's a clamber skip off the sandbags. Normally, if I want to jump up here, I got to jump clamber, or I have to jump on the sandbags and then jump again. I could step jump to the sandbags if I want, like that, and then jump again, but this is clearly faster. It gets me right up immediately to AR. If I want to get into a fight, I got my weapon ready. I can shoot, I can melee, whatever. The technique I'm applying here is called a sliding kneecap. It's actually a Halo 5 technique where you sprint, slide, and jump into a ramped surface for a boost upwards to a higher ledge. Towards the end of Halo 5, this was a skill gap that some players were taking advantage of. In Infinite, there aren't too many spots where you can apply this, but this spot is honestly one of the best in the game. What I'm doing is I'm sprinting and sliding into the sandbag and then jumping. But the slide is happening almost the instant before I hit the sandbag. I sprint, slide, jump. Didn't quite hit it there. Sprint, slide, jump. Right before I hit the sandbag, like I'm centimeters away, and I slide, jump. And it can take some time to get down, but once you get it, it's pretty consistent and a huge convenience. You skip the ledge completely, you get right in the action. Speaking of button jump ups, this jump from this button or panel is not only easier to do, it's also way more useful. In my opinion, everyone should be able to do this jump. By doing this, you skip the clamber to the ledge above. Normally, you'd have to clamber. If you're too far to the left, by the way, I don't think you can reach the clamber here, so you got to at least be in the middle. You can push up against the wall and then jump and clamber if you do need to hit a quick clamber. But if you got the timing, this is way more useful. Keeps your weapon ready. You can shoot right away. There isn't really much to it. Just a precise jump to this button, and then you jump up. What I find, if you're having difficulty hitting this, if I aim for this corner and jump in the corner, you can just kind of hold forward, and it locks you in place. So this is kind of an easy way to ensure you land on it. And what's cool is you could be taking a fight in the hallway and then precisely jump up and then get to a new engagement immediately. If you want to level this up, by the way, you can jump to the button, land on the railing, and then sprint curb slide to launch for rotation because it's curb slide height. So pretty cool. By the way, you can also stand on and jump off of this panel as well. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't lead to anything, but could be useful for like a high angle challenge on somebody down below. You can slide off it too, which is pretty nerdy to do and take some precision. But I was thinking if you're in like a 1v1 with somebody on C, you both back down, you could re-challenge him with a huge ego this way if you want. The last little jump I'm going to showcase on this map is this one right here. It's a crouch jump into this spot. You can tuck into this spot and just sit here, wait for the oddball to spawn, maybe get a back smack. So pretty sneaky spot to consider. Pretty straightforward to get into as well. It's just a crouch jump right up into the wall. You need to have good spacing to pull it off, so make sure you're not hugging this wall when you jump. Instead, jump from about here, and you can use this scuff mark on the wall as like a marker. You jump up along that, and it tends to stick you right in the corner. Honestly, just being aware of this extra cover here can be useful in a gunfight. There was actually a sick moment in HCS Raleigh where Ola used this spot to stay alive in a fight with Snakebite and clutched up. So if you get creative, there's a lot you could put together here.
They have the lead. It's a 4-point difference. Pistola, he's going to stay alive somehow. Oh my God, alive!
Okay, so that jump is pretty crazy. It's also not really that practical. So we're not going to cover it just yet. We're going to hold off. Instead, what Streets does really well in comparison to other maps is it's full of tons of useful clamber skips. These jumps, most of them are very well known and they're not difficult to hit. So I'm going to run us through the most important ones very quickly. If you don't know some of this stuff, now's the time to learn. And for my more experienced viewers, this is a good test of your map knowledge. These garbage cans right here, you can jump off the lid and then up to the ledge above and skip all the clambers. This is 2 crouch jumps back to back. So jump, hold, crouch to the lid, and then jump, hold, crouch to get up to the next ledge. It's not too difficult to do. If you want to extend the range of this, you can always sprint and then crouch jump for a slightly farther, higher crouch jump, but you don't need to. What's cool is you can also do this backwards as well. So I recommend you learn how to do this both ways. This way, you can be taking a fight and then back off. Just make sure you crouch jump the last jump to reach up, and you can shoot at the same time. At the B stairs here, there's a few different ways you can jump around and skip clambers, like from this railing to this ledge, and then up again. You can go from the generator, the high point of the generator, crouch jump up to the railing. You can also jump to this little electric box and then jump backwards, or from this electric box and crouch jump backwards and skip directly to the railing. Once you're on the railing, you can sprint curb slide out as well. So a lot of different ways to move around here. Right here at these ATMs, you can jump off any of these little fins sticking out of the ATM and then jump up and skip your clamber to this ledge. Little fins are a little bit difficult to pinpoint at times, but get used to it. You can start to do it backwards as well once you get a feel for where they are. And from the fin, you can curb slide off of them as well, which is kind of tough to do. I recommend you do it out of a jump. You got to like jump into it and then kind of sprint slide as you hit it and fall off, and you can use it as a challenge. This is not really a clamber skip, but it's a good spot to know. You can jump to this wall and sit here. Good place to avoid nades and to bait out a challenge from either of these alleyways beside you. This one's pretty obvious, but you can do it on the other side too. Just shimmy out and then just sit here, just like this. I've covered this area a few times, but it is important. You can jump to the pipes here and then jump to the window to skip the clamber. You can also jump to this sign and then just sit here as well. Pretty straightforward. Standard jumps. I'm not touching crouch throughout any of this process. Jump to the end of this generator and then just jump straight forward. It'll tuck you in the corner for the first one. What I haven't touched on is you can actually jump from here straight to here in one jump. It's difficult to do and not really sure how practical it is, but technically you could be in a gunfight and then backwards just kind of back down to the pipe and then jump right to the sign and then jump off the sign out for a challenge if you got crazy movement, maybe. I don't know. Also, no secret, but off a starting strat, you can sprint, jump to this podium, then jump as late as possible, hold crouch, and skip the clamber to this window. From this window, this jump to the planter here is pretty well known. You can skip this clamber. It's pretty difficult to do. I line it up on this ledge like this, and then sprint and try to turn away, and then turn back in and hold crouch to get to this planter and skip the clamber. It's pretty precise to hit. The timing that you turn out, I think, is important. I turn out at about here to ensure I don't hit this blue wall when I come through. And then you don't want to jump too late or else you'll jump from a point too low, right? So it's tough to put together. One more time, sprint, turn off, jump, hold crouch, turn in. Make sure you set that control stick to neutral so you stop your sprint and you don't slide when you hit the planter. And then once you're here, you can do a late crouch jump to this ledge and skip this clamber as well. You can also sprint crouch jump to hit it from farther. And those are basically all the most important clamber skips on the map. In the meantime, here's a few more spots, by the way. This is super well known and very popular at HCS. Just jump onto these boxes. Good spot to avoid nades and sit temporarily. While you're here, when you want to rotate out, shimmy to the edge of this fence and then sprint slide for a very powerful curb slide. Pretty useful rotation. Here's another cheeky spot, by the way. You can jump, hold, crouch, and then sit on top of this fence. Might be a good spot to sit when contesting the B stronghold. And yes, it is possible to slingshot yourself out of here as well. You should pretty much try to slide off of just about every ledge that you stand on. Whether or not you'll ever be able to use it effectively is going to depend on your own skill and creativity. There's a couple more spots back here too, but this is just not a useful location on the map to be hanging out, so I don't really recommend you use it. But hold crouch and then jump for a low jump. You can sit in here. And yes, it is possible. Once again, you can slide off of this and use that as a challenge potentially. So maybe it makes the spot a little more worthwhile. We got some clamber skips, some sneaky spots. Just to round things out, here's a few more jumps you might not be aware of. From this podium, sprint jump, and you can clamber this ledge above. Try to jump as late as possible and try to look slightly above the ledge to ensure you hit this clamber. It is a little finicky, but you can get it. Same with this one right here. Sprint off the box. Try to jump as late as possible. You can reach the clamber here. And once again, jump as late as possible. You can reach the clamber on the other side as well. On this side of the map, everyone knows this simple jump clamber to this lookout. You can skip the clamber here as well. Just sprint, jump, hold crouch, and it is possible to skip. Then from here, you can jump and clamber the palm trees, which isn't really necessary to do, but honestly kind of sick, and I think I want to do this more. You can kind of like precisely jump up and down and just do this endlessly. Obviously, risky to be up there, and it is technically possible to not jump and continuously clamber. I don't think you can just stand there. I think you just fall off. Last time we were here, I showcased this spot on the wall, which is still useful to know. Across from it, there is another spot that you can crouch jump into. It's harder to get into this spot. Similar to last time, you want to try to line it up so that the peak of your jump hits this ledge, and I jump, hold, crouch to land into it. But it is more difficult to land on and less useful, in my opinion. Of course, maybe you could avoid nades or a sightline being here. While we're here, this is super basic, but just in case you don't know, this is, of course, a crouch jump. Just jump, hold, crouch, and you could do it while you're taking fights and aiming at the same time. This spot's starting to get pretty popular in matchmaking. It's a crouch jump up into this ledge in bottom mid here. Could be a useful spot to sit to avoid nades. Not really a crazy spot by any means. Does not work on the other side, as far as I'm aware. Just here, you just want to jump right in between. You can just kind of just jump to this little panel here, and you're good. This light could be useful. You can jump off it as you make your way through car side. It's kind of tough to land on, but if somebody's on the other side of dynamos, you can maybe use it to make like a sneaky outplay if you can land on it. Honestly, I find for the best results, I try to jump from far away to give myself space to hit it, but even then, I don't always hit it. You really got to tuck yourself in the middle of that ledge without bumping the wall. If you have a thrust and utility, you can sprint, jump, thrust, hold crouch, and land on this cylinder in the corner. Definitely a cheeky spot. Not really sure how useful it is, but you've got a great line of sight on all these doorways. This is easily one of the most useful clamber skips on the map. There's an invisible ledge right here on the wall that you can jump off and skip your, even stand on it and skip your clamber. As you're standing here, you can step jump up as well. This had to have been on purpose from 343. You can do it on the other side because you can't even see it. I just wonder, like, you know, how it was even designed like this in the first place, but damn, is it ever useful. Unfortunately, you can't do it on the other side. I wish you could. I've tried the exact same approach on the other side of the map, and there's just nothing there to stand on. So if anybody does know a way to skip the clamber here, I've seen ghost jumps and other methods, but there's no convenient, accessible way to get there as far as I'm aware. This one is just a crouch jump to this invisible ledge. It's right here. You jump, hold, crouch, and you can land on top of it. Honestly, you could probably do it like backwards too and get very consistent. Maybe even hit top mid. There's a ton of potential with this that I don't think people are taking advantage of. By the way, you can also crouch jump into these little robotic arms on top mid. Why you would do this, I have no idea, but there's two of them, one on each side. Maybe a tricky angle, I guess. When you're doing this, you're also kind of blocking the doorway coming out of both car and pink side. They wouldn't see you right away. There's one more clamber skip I'll showcase on this map. Works on both bases. Just sprint jump from the top of the stairs and hold crouch, and you can skip the clamber here. Pretty straightforward. What's even better is if you jump off of this ledge and curb slide jump and skip the clamber that way. This is a great rotation. If you're off a starting strat or you spawn near here, just jump, curb slide, skip it that way, get right to the hallway. Speaking of curb slides, this map is full of them. There's way too many for me to cover, but real quick, I'm going to show you a few that I think everyone should know how to do. Sliding off of this ledge is massive. Everyone in competitive is aware of it and using it currently. It's pretty straightforward. You just sprint, slide, and you will launch out. You can get the thrust quickly this way. You can pick up the flag quickly this way, slide out, grab the flag with a speed boost. If you want to go to utility, you can slide out on an angle as well and launch yourself over to the hallway and utility. It's very useful slide. Another super easy curb slide to get the camo. Just sprint, slide off, grab camo quickly. Everyone is using this. Just make sure you're sliding off of a flat surface. If I run over the fertilizer, it's going to lift me up and disconnect me with the ground, and it can make the slide timing more difficult. Same with the gardening tools here. Just make sure that you're running off a flat runway. I also know that there's a few other skill jumps on this map that are absolutely insane. You could basically launch yourself from your base to top mid and from top mid back to your base. And shout out to JTON for putting this stuff together. I've linked his content in the description. He's got some crazy jumps. I personally am not going to break this stuff down. One, because it's difficult as hell to do, but also because I just don't see it ever being viable in a competitive game. It's just too crazy. The risk outweighs the reward too much, in my opinion. You're going to die trying to do it. There's even some cool flag stuff, but once again, I just don't see it viable. If you want to prove me wrong, please be my guest. Go ahead, make a sick play, let me know. But until then, I just don't see it being viable. What I will do, though, is leave you with a neat little starting strat that I love to do on this map. What I do is I sprint, grab the BR as I jump to the fin, curb slide, get the thrust, jump thrust, hold crouch, drop slide, nade, and jump. And if somebody goes for this angle and the nade comes out correctly, it tends to hit them, and then I just kill them right away.
Earn more kills than your opponents to win.
A couple things to keep in mind. Of course, this is normally a commando. You can jump grab it without losing any momentum as you go to the fin. When you curb slide here, don't do it straight forward like this. If you do that, you're going to get melted from somebody in the opposite base. Instead, I recommend you do it on a slight angle so you can dodge shots and potentially take cover if you need to. When you drop for the thrust, grab it and then sprint jump thrust from this point on the platform, hold crouch, and you can drop slide properly. If you jump too late, you're going to bump your head on the roof. So if I sprint jump thrust from here, I'm going to bump my head and this won't work. So the positioning when you jump is very important. And then when you throw that nade, I'd say throw it lower on the stairs, somewhere around here where they're more likely to be. By the way, there's a cool extra feature with nades in this game where you can sprint jump and throw one at any point in the air and still land and drop slide afterwards. This was not possible in Halo 5. In Halo 5, if you jump and throw a nade, it would cancel your sprint in midair and you could no longer land and slide. This is also true with shooting. If I sprint jump and shoot, it cancels my sprint in midair, so I can no longer land and slide. If I want to line up a drop slide, I have to forego the ability to shoot. But knowing that you can jump and throw a nade still and land and drop slide, that's super useful. If ever you're trying to line up a drop slide, know that you can still do damage and still drop slide at the same time, assuming you line up and get the drop slide. That's pretty damn useful to know, so something to keep in mind. And that is all I've got for what we'll call part 1 of my skill jump masterclass. That starting strat, by the way, that could work out for you. You could get a kill. You could get a nice flank. You might also run into a stray nade and die, or you might miss a fight where your teammates are dying fighting for camo while you're largely kind of absent from the picture. The point is, there are no free advantages that come from that starting strat, just like there aren't free advantages that come from really anything in Halo. The most important part here is understanding the mechanics behind that strat and how they work so you can apply them to different areas of the map or different maps entirely and use them how you see fit. Also, I know I never got around to breaking down that skill jump to sea balcony on streets, even though I kind of teased it. I might give it a proper breakdown in the future, but if you've been watching my content, you should at least know the mechanics that went into that jump, right? I'm standing on the railing, I sprint and curb slide off on a diagonal, and then jump, thrust, and clamber to the balcony. The trickiest part about that jump is the gray lip on the floor at the edge of the ledge. If you curb slide over it, it halts all your momentum entirely and completely ruins the jump. The trick to that jump is to sprint along the railing and then try to curb slide as late as possible so that that gray lip doesn't cut your momentum and you get a full launch. If you can consistently fully launch off, then the jump thrust part is going to be way easier, way more consistent. So that's the tricky part to get a hang of. I might touch on it again in the future. And then couple that with literally dozens of other skill jumps. I didn't even touch on Recharge and Bazaar, and there is tons of stuff there. Even if we go back and talk about some of the old jumps and new optimizations to those old jumps, because there's stuff I know now that I didn't know before. So we could be here for a whole other hour, like I said, but I'll stop here for now. Hopefully you guys enjoy what you got here. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're curious to know what I play on, what I game on, and how it helps me. I mean, I'm on a Battle Beaver. In case you didn't know, I'm sponsored by Battle Beaver. All the details are in the description. I play on one with literally 6 buttons. I just got this one in. It's pretty damn sick, and maybe I'll talk about it in a different YouTube video. I am also casting this weekend as well. If you guys want to check that out, that is also in the description. I'm commentating in the Lady Spartans Pro Series, which is pretty sick. It's an all-female league and something we haven't seen in Halo before. So check that out. That is this Saturday. If you haven't already done so, hit the sub button, sub to the channel, hit the like button on the video, check out related videos, and good luck on the way.